This is Robert again, and I'm here to answer your questions about the challenge. So let it rip. It's your penny. While we wait for people to decide whether they're going to ask me questions, for those that participate through a virtual committee, Hub will be sending out a meet to answer how that is going to occur in the next couple of weeks. But yes, please ask your question. Yes, Newton, go for it. I see your hand is raised. You want to ask me, Newton? We're not hearing you. Newton, can you see us? I can see you. You look frozen. Newton says he can't hear anything. Does everybody else hear me clearly? Because if everybody else can hear me, then it'll be on Newton's side. Yes, so I think people can hear me. So I think it's on your side, Newton, whether you want to increase the volume on your set, but it should be okay. Anybody else want me to ask a question while Newton works out his technical problems?
I've got a question. This is John Yee.
Go for it.
Hi, Robert. Thanks for doing this. Quick question. You mentioned a few minutes ago just in terms of the hubs, how does that process work? Are we notified in a couple of weeks, he said? I kind of missed that portion.
Okay, so there are the regional hubs, which are physical hubs, and they're not due to send out their invitation list until beginning of March. So I still got a few weeks for that. For those that are participating as a virtual hub, we are going to hold a virtual meeting so that people can practice how to do the virtual meeting. So what we're going to do, and I might as well advertise it here, is that we're going to do the virtual challenges by Zoom as we're doing now. The requirement would be that you guys would have 2 cameras operating. So just as we have multiple people attending. So one camera would be to give us a far field view of what's happening. And then a close-up camera that shows the action for example, on the drone or for the robots moving through the field. And we will have the same format as the regional physical hubs where you'll have 15 minutes to discuss with our panel about your mission development log. And then you have 15 minutes to run the challenge. Physically though, there is setup time of a couple of minutes on either side. So we will be timing students or teams on a 12-minute bracket. And this will be exactly the same as the physical hubs, where they'll have a meet with some judges about their mission development log, and then run the challenge. But they will have an audience, whereas you guys with the virtual hubs will just have my team as your audience. Okay, Chris, you have some questions. We're ready to go.
Okay, so these are from Susan in Idaho. Her first question is there a required depth for the vernier probe to go into the sample?
No. Well, you just have to practice at what depth you will get a reasonable measurement. I think that if you only go a few millimeters, you're not going to get an accurate reading from the vernier probe. I believe the vernier probe has to go in at least 1 centimeter or 2 into the sample to get a proper reading.
Okay. Her other question is, there was a change in the manual about retrieving the Lego samples. Should each sample go to the green cache zone before the next sample is collected?
That's a good question. And that might be our bad writing. So no, you can collect as many samples as you want. So the students should make a decision whether they want to go all the way out to the blue and get those points. But if you get lost and don't get them to the green circle, you won't get the full set of points. So it's up to the teams to make a decision process. about how many of the samples they think that they can collect and get to the green circle. So that's something that the students need to judge. I want to emphasize to all the teams that you get to use the methane detector for the samples if you collect one sample, and then you can do the next part of the challenge if you collect the 2 samples to do the microscope run. So, and if I didn't make that clear in the manual, this is the explanation here, is that we want you to use the methane detector and the microscope similar to the actual robotic mission after you collect the sample. So the judges will have on their table a couple of different samples, soil samples. They may or may not contain organic material, and so your team will have to determine whether they do or do not have a methane signature. And there will be a microscope test. I think the hubs have all agreed that they would find their own material, and then the question would be, can you find whether there is signatures of life in the sample that is provided to you all. For those in the high school effort, the mini drone is to be flown after you collect at least one sample for it. You just can't get on the map and fly. You have to at least collect one sample. The sample doesn't have to be picked up. It can be dragged to the green circles for it. Let's see, are there other questions? There are some questions coming in. Okay, so yeah, that goes to Michelle. Hope that answered your question, and you can join in verbally if you want. There's only a small group of you, but yes, the students collect as many as you want and drop it off in any fashion that you want, but you have to get your samples into the green circle in the most efficient manner that you deem possible. Yes, so the answer is no, they don't have to be done one at a time. You can do them all at once. We're using the Lego frames to have the robots pick up, right? Again, you can either pick them up or you can drag them. It depends on what your team feels is the most appropriate solution for the problem. Let me know if I didn't get those questions right or other questions. Did you have other questions, Chris?
Nope, those were the only ones that I was aware of via email. So I'm done.
Okay.
Robert, I have one that we've gotten a few inquiries about. For teams who would like to purchase their own mat, after they place that order, would you recommend that they have the small pieces or that they don't worry about those, like the
Don't worry about the small pieces. Don't worry about the small pieces. That was just to make it more 3D looking like for the students to play around with for it. So for the virtual persons, there was a question about how the methane will work for the virtual hubs. So you'll do the same experiment that you have, except that the judges might ask you to determine whether there's a methane signature in the field of view that we can see for the hub. So it could be whether we ask you to take somebody's shoe off and smell their shoe or not, or something like that for the methane sampling. All right, students have asked if they can build the Lego. Yes, you can build the communication disc out of anything you feel appropriate. It could be Legos, it could be just spare parts. Like I said in the demonstration, we just got some plates, some chopsticks, and some plastic tubs to put together. So it's up to you, but you have to have at least 10 pieces and you have to assemble them live, and you can't break orbit until that communication disc is put together and put on the mat. And that's to celebrate the achievements of Apollo 13, which will be marked as in April, the 50th anniversary. Okay, other questions? After the drone delivers the lander to the landing zone, does the drone return to the takeoff and landing? Yes. So I'm not too sure I made that clear, but yes, the drone needs to deliver the lander to the landing zone, and it needs to fly back to base for it, or somewhere near the control table. So the question here is, can the 10 separate pieces to build into 2 sections? Yeah, you can build into whatever sections you want for your communication disk, but it has to be at least 10 separate pieces at the start of the challenge. You can use any sensors that, so the question from David is, can we use sensors for the robot? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can use whatever sensors you think is appropriate. That's exactly what Mars 2020 is doing. It has sensors to help it move through the surface and find good, appropriate samples. And so you do as well. I'm going to say that I lost the thought, sorry. The sensors are good for it. And don't forget though, and something to emphasize for all you guys, we want you to think you can build the code in one big shot, but you do have the opportunity to send 6 different commands to the robot during your challenge time, but you are limited to 6 robot commands. We've seen a couple, which is completely opposite to first Lego. Lego wants you to build one big massive code. We saw a couple of teams last year struggle with the 1 mega code, and somebody slips a bug in and then the robot goes crazy. So we encourage you to break up the program into what we would call subroutines or small components that can help you quickly adjust should something go wrong. But it's up to the teams to decide how best to form their code. But you do have 6 chances to modify the code in real time if that works out for you. And so that's something different from other challenges. The lander is just paper, right? No, the paper can be made out of anything that you think is appropriate to fly. It's a good engineering design problem for all the educators, insofar as if you make it too light, it's going to get blown away by the wind. And if it's too heavy, the drone is not going to fly it. So you need to figure out the best ways to attach, how to release, and make sure the wind doesn't blow you too far off a topic. The drone does not have to pick up the lander at any stage. It just has to drop it off. So maybe next year we'll get you guys to pick up samples instead of drop them off, but that's all about next year. Other questions? All right. Well, I'll ask you guys, how are you guys finding the challenge? Too easy, too hard, guys? What do you reckon? While we're waiting, Michelle wants to know, will the rover start from on the map? It will start from the center of the blue circle and yellow cross. So Newton says it's easy at the moment. All right, well, glad to know that. See how you guys go on the actual challenge day. Thank you, David says it's a good challenge. Okay, other questions you're thinking about? How will the sensor register the moisture content? So there is a sample video on our website about how to use the moisture content. If you look at how the Legos respond, you'll see a window that gives you a reading of the sensors. And so that's how you will figure out how much moisture content there is. Okay. Chris will like this comment. Michelle says the hardest part is submitting videos to the site. Bad luck, Chris. Chris is our web expert, so we'll put it on her all the time. She's doing her best. We'll have more questions soon. Yes, we will continue to have question and answer sessions. We're getting February already. It's amazing how quick the time flies, right, guys? It'll, I can't remember, we'll probably do something at the end of February or beginning of, Chris is complaining, okay. She's a writer, not a coder. But anyway, yes. So we'll be having a session at the end of either February or the beginning of March. We have a little bit of trouble in March for my team, so might be a little bit hard to get it in, but we'll try and do it as soon as possible. Could you talk about the lander? It is vague in the manual. Yes, it's vague in the manual because it's supposed to be a design, engineering design problem for you all. We were hoping that it could look a little bit like the Mars 2020 lander, but it doesn't have to be. We want something innovative, and we want something that you guys will figure out that will work the problem. And as such, that's why there's no specific instructions. We want it freeform. We don't want to over-specify the problem. So yes, it's nice and vague deliberately. We don't want to make it recipe-like for it. Okay, so I answered Ginny's working. Let's see. There you go, Chris, you're off the hook. Michelle writes, it's not you, it's us. I love it. Chris is also writing, as for the videos, the upload, is optional. The social media posts are necessary. So you just send us the links. The uploads just help us with the files. And I wanted to point out that Chris worked really hard the last couple of days. We have modified the website just recently, or she has just modified it, so that there is now a big button to help you figure out where to download your files and make things much more easier for everyone. Okay, so let's see. So please check out that site. Let us know whether you're having any problems about it. And again, continue to send us at our email at noesby@uw.edu, where we're having continue to answer as many of the questions that you have as best as we can. All right. So Newton, I think we already answered your question that yes, we'll be having another meeting come either late February or beginning of March, depending on our schedule.
Probably the beginning of March, since we'll all be out of the office, end of February.
Yes, yes. Okay, any other questions? Last call. All right, so I'm not hearing any more questions. Whoops, there's one. Will the students have to do anything with the Steam table? No, we didn't have anything to do at the challenge for the stream table. I couldn't figure that one out. But again, it was just important to understand what the map means to people. So I wanted all of the flight directors to try and get the students to not just treat the map as an obstacle course, but to be able to have your students interpret what's on the map. I've done some professional development, and I asked the kids what they see on the map, for example. And the first thing that it always says is, I see rectangles, I see circles. And that's wasn't the point, which is unfortunate. The point was that here is a surface of Mars, and it has this, what looks like a dry riverbed and a river delta right in the middle of the field of view with some craters around. And that was what we were trying to get people, is to treat it as an actual map that tells us something about the history of Mars, as opposed to just having it as a place to go from A to B. Newton, I see a question. How do you do part 2? I'm not too sure what that referring to as part 2. So could you be a bit more specific? Thank you, Chris. I don't understand the question either. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. I'm glad that you guys like the stream table for it. So fabulous effort. Newton, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, I'm more than happy to, because we still don't understand and we still don't see you. Oh, so Newton's asking, how do you do the search for life? So what we want you to do for the search for life, if you can get hold of a methane detector, they're only $20 from Amazon for it. So that's the methane, and there's videos of how to use it and calibrate it on our website. And then the other part is a microscope run. I saw one video which was quite innovative, where they were just using a video camera and instead of the microscope, but using it at high resolution, picking some samples up and seeing whether they could literally zoom into some of the invertebrates, bugs running through it. So that's what we're asking you to do. How do we pronounce the name of the crater? There's a couple of different versions, but we are pronouncing it as Jezero crater that we were in. And it actually sits on the basin there that is even a larger formation around that part of the crater. And I hope that you guys take advantage of the Science Matter Expert videos that we had. We had a really great one today about what the search for methane was for it. Let's see, you guys are getting enthusiastic here, and I missed the Zoom question here. All right, fabulous. Let's go back. Is it possible to detect methane during the winter with snow cover? So the answer is it's going to be a lot more difficult for an outside detection of methane. So what's happening in the outside signatures of methane is it's coming from decay of material from bacteria chewing on organic compounds. What I mean by that is dead plants or animals. During winter times, a lot of that material, a lot of that bacteria becomes dormant and waits for temperatures to come back. So, for example, if you were to take a soil sample that was good and frozen from outside, you're probably not going to get a methane detection. But if you were to bring it inside, warm it up, you would probably start to see a methane signature come back. Okay, you got, okay, that's a good one. Too snowy for any bugs, but we did find a rat's arm. So that's very innovative and spectacular. Yes, I know we're in Seattle and we just subject to lots of rain all the time, and I didn't quite anticipate some people would be snowed over. But yes, thanks for being innovative. In some places, the kids have been very innovative at finding dead bugs on the inside places for it. So congratulations, and keep, well, that's part of the search for life. It's not going to always be easy. And that's one of the things we wanted to mention about the rovers, is just because you don't find life doesn't mean it isn't in there. It's just that we haven't looked at the right position. So I know the hub information will be soon, but do you happen to have the dates for the New Jersey hub? Unfortunately,
Hang on 1 second.
Okay, Chris will bring up the information for the New Jersey hub.
So currently on the spreadsheet that we have here, I don't see a specific city or location for the challenge. The New Jersey hub event date is scheduled for May 2nd. We will have all this information up on the website by the weekend. As the person responsible for getting it on the website, I have been challenged the past couple of weeks with completing a massive report for NASA on the other grant program that we run. So I got a little behind. My apologies for that, but we will have all the current information that we have about hubs and their challenge events. We'll have that on the website by the weekend.
Okay, Newton, how do you get the challenge map? So you can, there's two ways for the challenge map. We do encourage you to try and build it yourself, particularly for the people on the virtual hubs. There is a do-it-yourself instructions on how to build the map in the manual, and we again recommend using something like poster board or white foam board that you could buy from Office Depot or whatever for it to construct your map. And so you don't have to make the exact map, just use the instructions there. If you want to get a physical map, we'll again put the instructions on the website, the email. Can you type in the email there, Chris? It is send@seattledesignandprint.com.
Oh, you need the email for the Seattle Design
And they
contract.
will, if you want
I'll
to
look it
buy
up.
your map, they will welcome your order and send it to you. They do have a discounted price for us all, and you can get it. All right, let's see. I'm behind on the messages here. Let's see, where am I up to? Okay, so yeah, and we're putting the locations up. Let's see. Okay, so if I get the actual printed version of it, how will I get it? So if you tell us Seattle Design and Print your postal address, they will print it for you and then send it to you. Okay, and so there's the address. It's send@seattledesignandprint.com, just like I said. And they're pretty great and fast. It's a little bit expensive, but that's something that we couldn't help.
Do you remember what the cost is?
It's about $150 for the print, and it's about $50 for postage or something. So it's pretty heavy for it. So Newton, there is the, you don't need a web link. You just tell them at that email that you want, and they will know how to do it all for you. So the question is, Meet the Scientists. Chris, you want to answer the Meet the Scientists, where the videos are posted and how to get access to them?
The videos for Meet a Scientist are all up on YouTube, and they are also linked. So there's a playlist on YouTube that lists all the Meet a NASA expert videos, and you can also find them with a direct link from our website. That's part of the changes that I've just made this week. So when you visit our website, there's now one entire section of navigation that's specifically for teams, and it includes a link to all of the demos so that you can view the equipment demos and see how to use the methane detector and so forth. And there's also a link that will take you directly to all of the subject matter experts. The one from today will be posted by the weekend, probably tomorrow morning.
As will this video. Correct?
Yes, we also post videos for meetings like this where we answer a lot of these questions.
So how we'll be using our own drone and mini drone for the competition. Again, the drone is to land the lander into as close as you can into the blue circles with the yellow crossbars on it, so it's quite obvious where the landing is, and your points increase the closer you can get to the center of the circles. Again, the mini drone is for the high school students. They are supposed to launch off the rover after you collected a couple of samples. The mini drone is to fly towards the crater and take an image of inside the crater. You will find that the mini drone that we have selected for the challenge uses the same video camera system as the bigger Blue Heron drones. So you should be able to get a live image of what the mini drone is seeing, and your job is to take an image of the target. For it, I have asked the hubs to find something, shall we say, unique. It might necessarily be a rock formation inside the crater. It might be some funny character for you to make it a little bit more interesting for everyone. This is something for the high schoolers to check out. You do need, in this part, to actually simulate the crater formation that we have put out there, because this is a good physics question, but there's a lot of wind coming off the crater as you try and get close to it. And so it requires good flying techniques. It's a non-trivial part of the problem. Okay, so that answers that question. Hopefully it does. Let's see. Chris has given you the YouTube playlist. Let's see. I don't know how to fly one either. You're going to have to look at YouTube videos and figure out how to fly it yourself. Then we can't help you that, but just follow the instructions in the manual. And there are YouTube movies about how to fly the Blue Heron as well. Okay, and Chris is mentioning that there are lots of videos online. And Ginny points out that, yeah, the kids know how to fly the drones well, better than us adults. All right. Other questions? Let's see. Jerked it a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Where am I, Chris? Am I missing something? Where am I up to on questions? I bumped it. Oh. Let's see. I'm out of control.
So, John, did you get a thorough answer to your question about drones?
Yeah, actually, maybe if I can chime in again. Sorry, I think I wasn't clear, but just to confirm, we'll be bringing our own drone and mini drone to the competition, and we'll be using that as opposed to the site providing their own drones.
That is correct. Well, we might. That's a good question. We might ask the site to have a couple of drones and mini drones available just in case. We typically have spare batteries, but it really is up to you to bring your own drone, your own robot to the challenge. We always bring a few spares because during practice, some kids break something or other. And in that case, it makes sense to provide a loaner. But in general, the answer is that you should be responsible for it. Okay, is there a way that we can get lower the cost of the project? We've made this as cheap as possible, this challenge, or it is a lot cheaper than trying to do some of the other competitions. And we've tried to keep the cost down as much as we can. And so the biggest cost is the Lego robot, and we can't do anything about that. So I'm sorry that we can't help there. Other questions? Again, though, what you bring up, Newton, though, if you have financial problems, if you have working in an underserved, underrepresented communities, you should contact your hub to ask for support if that is if not having support is an impediment. You do have to have a registered team before you can ask for support and demonstrate some sort of commitment to the program. And that is why the program actually has the mini challenges up front. For example, the geological ones don't cost you anything, but if you complete them, then it shows that you're committed to the program, and that allows you to have access to equipment to do the search for life. And if you complete the search for life, then it makes sense that you should have access to the Lego robot, which is the most expensive part of the challenge. Up to doing the Lego robot, the drone and the methane detector and microscopes are only about $100 or $150, so that's pretty cheap. And that's just the Lego robots, that's quite expensive. Other questions? Yeah, you got to work this out, but how do you make the mission patch? You get some kids who are good at art, design it yourself that represents what you guys think is appropriate, that is representative of your team.
One thing I'll mention about the mission patches, you don't have to get too hung up on trying to do it on a computer using software. We had plenty of teams last year who did just hand draw it. So you can put together a mission patch design in any way you like, whether you hand draw it and then color it with colored pencils, or whether you actually have a design student who knows how to use, say, for example, Adobe Illustrator and can do it programmatically. So the important thing is to just, as Robert said, have a design that represents your community, but it doesn't matter how you put it together, whether you hand draw it or use a program. And then all you have to do is you can just take a picture of it with your phone and then post it to social media and use the link on our website to submit it for scoring.
Okay, so Michelle is asking, does a team bring their own laptop to do the challenge and to upload and change code? Absolutely. So we are not responsible for laptops for code changes. The teams are totally responsible for that. Okay, last call for questions. Oh, I missed any questions? So Newton's has one more question. He's noticed the patches have NASA, Boeing, etc. No, you don't even need to have NASA or Boeing in the patches. We just downloaded those because that's who's providing the funds. You just make yourself your own patch. Good luck, Newton, and all you else. I hope that you're having fun with the challenge. I hope that it's getting more students involved in STEM. And I think if I don't see any more questions, we'll cut it off for today and continue to answer questions. Again, use the NOESP site to send us more questions, and we'll try and update things. So thank you, everyone, and we'll end the recording. I think I can end it from here.